Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. We want to note that this meeting is being broadcast on the NUSD's YouTube channel at the direction of the board. The broadcast may capture images and sounds from those attending the meeting. If you would like to make comment on anything on the agenda or not on the agenda, please see staff at the side table for a comment card. We have some students who will lead us now in the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'd like to come up right here.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you guys so much for your help. That was wonderful. The board did meet in closed session. Trustee Novato will report out.
Good evening. The board met in closed session on the following items: public employee discipline dismissal release, information only. Conference with labor negotiators Francesca Wickham, Executive Director of Human Resources and Employees Organization, Novato Federation of Teachers, NFT, information only. Conference with labor negotiators Francesca Wickham, Executive Director of Human Resources and Employees Organization, California School Employee Association, CSEA, information only. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to ask for a motion to approve tonight's agenda. I saw Trustee Millerick and a second by Trustee Mack. All those in favor? 7 plus our students, none opposed. Thank you. Next up is consent agenda. Are there any items that anyone would like to pull? Yes, Trustee?
Thank you. I'd like to pull item 15D and have it at the end.
Okay, we'll take 15D and add it to become item 13B at the end of discussion action. Any other
Thank you.
items? Okay, can I ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda as noted without item 15D? Trustee Butler, thank you, and a second by Trustee Gasson. All those in favor? 7 plus our 2 student trustees, thank you. Okay, we're now going to have announcements, and we will start with our student trustees.
Tomorrow is our annual Trades Day, and this year we are excited to include cosmetology. Students will have the option to attend either the construction trades fair or the cosmetology event. We will host representatives from 12 different vocational trades who will explain how to enter their fields, the required education, salary, and benefits associated with their trades. Additionally, we have 3 cosmetology sessions where students can engage with a barber, hairstylist, or skincare expert. I'm excited to learn more and participate tomorrow. On November 21st, we held an honor roll assembly to recognize students who achieved a GPA of 3.0 or above in the 4th quarter of last year and the 1st quarter of this year. Additionally, students who met or exceeded standards on last year's state testing were honored. Parents and families joined us to celebrate and cheer on our student recipients. On the Friday before break, our leadership and culinary classes hosted the annual gratitude feast. They prepared a delicious meal for our entire school community, creating an opportunity for everyone to enjoy good food, listen to music, and share moments of connection and joy. Each year, every student and staff members participate in a connection survey to ensure that every student has at least one trusted relationship with a staff member. The goal is to confirm that students have supportive adults they can rely on, as this connection increases the likelihood of regular school attendance and seeking help during challenging times. We will all be taking the survey this week. Final exams will take place during the week of December 16. To make sure all of us are well prepared, teachers are dedicating time to review the material covered throughout the quarter. This review period is a time to help reinforce key concepts, clarify any doubts, and provide an opportunity for our student body to practice and apply our knowledge. We've been engaging discussions in ethnic studies around race, redlining, and discrimination. We learned that redlining is a biased practice from the 1930s where banks and insurance companies denied services like loans to people in certain neighborhoods, often based on race. This led to limited access to housing and financial services for minorities, keeping them in poverty and segregation. Discrimination is the unfair treatment of people based on characteristics like race or gender affecting areas such as employment, education, and healthcare. Both redlining and discrimination have long-lasting impacts on marginalized communities, creating systemic inequalities. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Trustees, Dr. Smith. I hope you all had a wonderful and restful Thanksgiving holiday full of family, food, and time to recharge. We've got a lot of exciting updates to share. So first up, a huge shout out to our amazing Sustainable Youth Leaders Club. They recently had a clothing drive that was nothing short of spectacular. Over 1,200 items were donated, showing just how generous our community is. And to make things even better, their thrift pop-up event was a big hit. Students got the chance to pick out clothing items, helping to promote sustainability while getting lots of good steals. Next, we want to give a special shout out to our seniors who recently reached an important milestone. Their CSU and UC applications were due yesterday. This is a huge accomplishment, and we're so proud of the dedication and hard work that our seniors at Novato, San Marin, and Marin Oaks have put in. A special thank you goes to the counselors at Novato High School who went above and beyond to host 2 information and help sessions in the library to guide our students for any last-minute help. Now, with winter months upon us, we have something fun to look forward to, Wintergrams. ASB is back with a tradition where students, parents, and staff, and pretty much the entire community, can send a candy cane and a sweet message to someone special for just $1. Wintergrams are on sale at lunch this week and next, and you can buy them online through the link on our Instagram or What's the Buzz emails. As we head into the final stretch of the semester, we want to give a big shout out to all of our teachers and staff who are guiding our students towards the finish line. We know finals week can be stressful, but we've got something special to help everyone de-stress. Our holiday stress less spirit week is next week. Monday is Candy Cane Day, wearing red and white, and we have a wellness activity, which is making stress balls. Tuesday is Too Festive Tuesday, so holiday sweaters, socks, and hats, and we'll be making slime. Wednesday is Shred or Sled Day, so we're showing off some of our best ski wear. Our wellness activity is making calming glitter jars, and we may even give out some hot chocolate. Thursday is Holiday Hat and Headband Day, wearing our best holiday headgear, and we're going to be making bracelets. And then Friday, 'twas the night before finals, so it's Pajama Day. And our wellness activity will be writing positive affirmations for friends. A big thank you to the Wellness Hub and Swap Club for organizing these fun events with leadership. It's a great way to spread positivity and take care of our mental health during this time. On the athletic front, we had an awesome time over Thanksgiving with our annual boys basketball alumni game. It's always great to see former players back in the gym, and this year we had 3 groups of brothers playing, a full family affair. Looking ahead, we've got another student versus staff game coming up. This time it's indoor soccer. The last basketball and volleyball game were won by the staff, so the students are ready to reclaim our victory next week. Turning to the arts, I hope everyone had a chance to catch Anything Goes, our theater production. It was an amazing performance, so huge props to everyone involved. Our Artist of the Week is Michael Zhao, a talented senior in drawing and painting. His work is captivating and often inspired by photography. Also mark your calendars for December 19th, when we'll be hosting our annual alumni soiree with MSA. This is always an incredible event, so make sure to stop by and enjoy the art and the community. And don't forget, next week we've got an instrumental concert on Thursday and a vocal concert on Friday, both happening in the CFA. As we move into December and wrap up the first semester, we're thankful for all the support our teachers, staff, and you all have been doing for us. Only 12 more days left, but who's counting?
I have no comments. Thank you.
It's a lot hard to follow those great presentations.
That's exactly right. I know when I'm done.
Good evening, everybody. It's so exciting to see so many people here. I wanted to, I've had a couple things going on. I had the pleasure of joining for my first Modeling the Way visits, which is just so fun to go in and honor our staff who are doing really amazing things. And I wanted to just acknowledge how much energy and time it takes on the district's end to make that happen, and how valuable I think it is to have our staff go into classrooms to recognize people. So thank you for the time and energy, and congratulations to our Modeling the Way recipients. I've also had the pleasure to be a part of our Literacy Curriculum Development Council. I got to listen in on some of the conversations they're having, which is really exciting. And I wanted to thank the teachers and staff and community members who've reached out to provide insight on things. It's really helpful for me, I will say, us, to hear from staff and parents in the community around what's happening and insights around like how things are going at the sites. So thank you so much, and good luck in the final 12 days.
No announcement. I had nothing really either, just to say I hope everyone's taking care of themselves. I know it's really, really busy right now. So,
welcome back, everybody. In numbers, it's good to see. Anyway, I attended this morning the Marin County School Board's Executive Committee, and the main topic of conversation was the upcoming concerns around immigration and what the school districts and the county office can do to, one, educate, and two, ensure that our students continue going to school. So look for more on that as a group. You'll see a lot of information and what we can do to make sure, once again, our kids stay in school.
Good evening, everyone. It's always so exciting to see parents and students in our audience. And Kayla, welcome. I believe this is your first meeting. Great job with your announcement. Les quería dar la bienvenida a los padres de familia, que esta es su primera vez atendiendo a esta junta mesa directiva. Me da mucho gusto de verlos. I got a chance to attend last week the National Association of Latino Elected Officials. I was one of 70 Latino elected officials from the nation to attend this conference. We discussed wellness, mental health, discussed budget. So nice to see that even though we're different parts of the U.S., we still have things in common. One being the budget. We're all discussing the budget across the country, so it was really nice. Immigration also came up. So I'm really excited that we are doing really great things in our district. I know Dr. Smith attended a newcomers immigration session a couple weeks ago, hosted by MCOE. I did attend DLAC a 2 weeks ago, and I know immigration was also a concern with that, with those parents. And then I also want to uplift the Marin Teen Girl Conference. It's happening March 2nd. Someone from the Marin Women's Commission will be reaching out to our district, so hopefully we can send a whole bunch of girls to this conference. They really talk about wellness, careers, education, hobbies, and I know that you were a student ambassador a couple years ago. So it's a really great program for teen girls. And I look forward to the next 12 days.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies. Such great presentations today from our students. It's always so great to hear what they're working on, and so nice to see all of you. I had some community conversations and Modeling the Way since our last meeting, so not too much.
All right, I know we're very excited to hear Rancho's presentation. just bear with me with a few comments. So we do hope everyone got to have a rest last week. It feels like any rest you've received is already gone because it's so busy. So much activity. We wish all of our high school students a good luck over the next couple of weeks. We know finals is a lot to deal with. And Kyla, welcome to the table. It's been a joy to have you. So over the break, I got to see the production of MSA of Anything Goes. And I went to one of the Novato girls basketball game. Both were super fun, fabulous, and I'm really excited to get to other school sites to join in all the fun activities. I have been hosting listening sessions with all of our departments over the past month, and we're working on responses to some of the needs that came up for them as employees as they serve our community. We had a great day today. Francesca Whitcomb and Jess Joseph from our Human Resources Department and we visited the classrooms of 24 teachers who were newly tenured. So newly tenured means that they recently acquired permanent status as teachers in our district. So it took them a couple years or more to get through a lot of rigor and passed lots of observations and evaluations, and we surprised them, and it was really just a joyous time to be able to celebrate some of our staff that way. And then we're excited to welcome Chandra Alexandra as our newest board member on December 17th. So that will be in a couple of weeks. And we will be swearing in Debbie, Greg, and Julie. John Carroll will be here as our superintendent of schools, county superintendent. He'll be making sure that you guys are official again for the next 4 years. And then just really quickly on Thursday, we are very busy here in the district office. The first part of the afternoon, evening, 3:30 to 5, our PTA organization has put on a reflection art competition, and there'll be the art show today here Thursday evening or late afternoon, and then in the evening at 7 o'clock we are offering information on our transitional kindergarten program for new parents.
Okay, we'd like to welcome Rancho up to present. We're so happy to have you.
All right, welcome everybody. If you are a Rancho Eagle, a student Rancho Eagle, can you come up and sit on the floor? And for now, you're gonna face all your grown-ups right here. So yeah, perfect. Just like, so what we're gonna do is you guys are gonna pretend you're in the audience of Friday Flag, and this is gonna be the stage back here, okay? All right. Actually, can you guys scoot up a little bit, like over this way, because you might need to walk a bit. Perfect. Thank you. All right. Any more Eagles out there that want to come up and be in Friday Flag? Okay. Oh, Catherine and Irene. Okay. Okay, it works. All right. So good evening. Thank you so much, trustees and superintendent, for having us here. My name is Catherine Naum. I'm the proud principal of Rancho and this amazing community of students, staff, and families. We're so excited to be here. Tonight, we're going to share about our Friday Flag community time. This aligns with our district and our school goals of belonging and inclusion, relationships, and growth. This time that we have every Friday builds that sense of belonging, which is vital for all of our students and helps improve not only academic outcomes, but behavioral growth as well. In addition to this sense of belonging, it improves mental wellness and even impacts physical wellness. Our staff worked really hard with all of our classes and our students this year to determine what do we want our student experience to be like. And so every single teacher worked with all of the kids and compiled lists and lists and lists of what we want at Rancho. What's that student experience? And after all of that was compiled and themes were put together, Rancho came up with, all the kids came up with, at Rancho, we want to feel safe and be seen. So safe and seen are what we want at Rancho. And Friday Flag epitomizes that for our community. So we have some of our staff and parents and students here who are going to share a little bit about their experiences with Friday Flag. And then we are going to do a little mini Friday Flag, so you'll be in the audience at the end. All right. Well, that was supposed to be the other slide. Okay. All right, Sienna.
Hi, I'm Sienna. I'm in 5th grade. And what I like about Friday Flag is when we get to celebrate all the students and parents and grown-ups and staff. For instance, when we give out positive office referrals to people who earned it, and birthday pencils to people who have birthdays.
I'm Zara. I'm also in 5th grade. What I like about Rancho is that students can come up and share about their culture and their background. I really love learning about all the other students. We also get to celebrate holidays that are from other places.
I'm Noelle. I'm also in 5th grade, and what I like about Friday Flag is just on Friday mornings I get to go into the multi-purpose room, and when I see everybody around, I just feel like I get to be part of something important.
And then we have a teacher who's going to share about her experience.
Good evening, Board of Trustees and fellow NUSD staff members and Dr. Smith. My name is Irene Howard. I teach 3rd grade at Rancho. I've had the amazing privilege of being there since 2004. So over the years, I've seen just beautiful growth in our school, and it's just such a privilege, and I'm so proud of it. So one of the most visible changes that you can see is through our Friday Flag and how it's changed over the years. And, you'll see that tonight. And as a teacher, I'm just incredibly proud of seeing how it's changed into a place that it's celebration and inclusivity. During this dedicated time, our students, our families, and our staff members, we feel welcomed and we feel loved. Our diverse population gets to learn, as she said, about one another. Holidays, we get to find our commonalities, and we get to just expand on our experiences and our friendships in the room. And students get to see themselves as part of a community filled with people who truly, truly care about them. And I look forward to Friday Flag, every week, and seeing all the parents and everybody's smiling face. It really is a big celebration, and I'm just proud how it's changed over the years, and hopefully you can come see it in person sometime soon. Thank you.
And Catherine, there you are.
Hi there. My name is Catherine, and I'm a really proud mom from Rancho. My son Dylan is in kindergarten, and this is his first year at Rancho. And we love everything at our school. We feel very welcome since the first day, and we love coming to Friday Flag every Friday with my husband. At Friday Flag, there is always a reason to celebrate, and to celebrate our different cultures, and we also learn how to read in different languages. And all parents are welcome to participate and know what's going on at Rancho. Our kids are always encouraged to be better students, to respect others. And my son Dylan loves the Rancho Eagle song, and he keeps singing it at home, and we love it. We feel really included, and we are more than happy to be a Rancho Eagle family. I'm gonna translate it in Spanish. Mi nombre es Catherine y soy una orgullosa mamá de rancho. Mi hijo Dylan está en kindergarten y este es su primer año en rancho. A nosotros nos encanta todo de nuestra escuela. Nos sentimos muy bienvenidos desde el primer día y nosotros amamos venir a la asamblea de los viernes, cada viernes con mi esposo. En la asamblea del viernes nos gusta mucho el hecho de que siempre hay una razón para celebrar nuestras diferentes culturas y de cómo aprendemos a saludar en diferentes idiomas. También y cómo todos los parientes son bienvenidos a participar y a saber qué están sucediendo en el rancho. Nuestros niños son siempre animados a ser mejores estudiantes y a respetar a los demás. Mi niño Dylan le encanta mucho la canción de las águilas de rancho y nos encanta que él continúe cantándola en casa. Nosotros nos sentimos realmente muy incluidos y apreciamos y estamos más que felices de ser una familia de las águilas de rancho.
Thank you so much. All right, so we're going to switch right now. And so, kids, so this is the stage. Even though it's going to be a little tricky because they look like the audience, but our audience is actually behind you. It's actually the board. So we're going to come on up. Jake, you want to come up? You ready? Okay. You do the first down arrow. Yeah, perfect. So one of the things we do to start off every Friday Flag is we say good morning in different languages. And every week the kids come up to me and ask to come up on stage and teach their language. And so I have a list on the whiteboard in my office, and it takes a while to get through all of the kids that keep coming up to ask. And so Jake here is going to teach us how to say good morning in Portuguese. You want to come stand here? Okay, ready?
Oi, bom dia.
Okay, so we'll all say that together. Ready? Oi,
Oi,
bom
bom
dia.
dia.
Okay, now let's say it to our elbows. Ready?
Oi, bom dia.
Excellent. Okay, say it to your knee.
Oi, bom dia.
All right, whisper it.
Bom dia.
And turn to a neighbor. Say it to a friend. Oi, bom dia. Nice. And what we do every week then is we try and say that good morning as we're coming into school, in the classrooms, on the yard. So, oi, bom dia. Thank you, Jake. All right. The next thing we do is the Pledge of Allegiance, which is run by our student leadership, and they rotate through every week. We've already done the Pledge of Allegiance, so we're not going to do it again. But hopefully you got to see a little bit of our first grade students who learned sign language, Miss Saute's class, and Miss Saute's mom, who taught them sign language and how to say the Pledge of Allegiance in that language as well. So that was really exciting. And then next we have cultural celebrations, which some of the kids talked about. And so if you were one of the students who celebrated and shared your culture, would you stand up? I think I only see Lucy and Rudy. Ashley, where are you? Come on up. Okay. So throughout the year, kids will come and say, I want to share about my country and my culture and where I'm from. And so for Hispanic Heritage Month, Ashley approached me, I think maybe the first week of school, to share about her country. So I'm going to have the kids share. And we've had Brazil, Guatemala, Honduras, Philippines, El Salvador, and also Diwali as well, because we go into other months. So I'll let you guys introduce yourselves. Say your name.
Hi, I'm Ashley, and I did a presentation about El Salvador. Hi, I'm Lucy, and I did a presentation of Guatemala. Hi, I'm Rudy, and I did a presentation of Guatemala.
Can we give them a big round of applause? Good job, you guys. I just have to say, one of the most exciting things is if you look out at our at Rancho, when we have Friday Flag, there are about 450 people out there, 390 students, and then grown-ups as well. And these students all show so much courage and bravery to get up and do a presentation in front of the entire community. So we are so, so proud of them. A lot of our Friday Flag is led by the students, so wanting to share about their cultures and coming up to me throughout the week and saying, Miss Nam, there's a problem on the yard. Kids are running up the slide. Can I make an announcement at Friday Flag and tell people that we need to be safer? Or, Mrs. Nam, I just noticed everybody is running to lunch in the hallways and not walking, and it's not safe. Can I make an announcement? So we have a student who came up and saw an issue at school and wants to make an announcement about it.
So at lunch, we get our food on our trays, and then when we're done eating, we stack the trays so they can be put in the compost. But when people come to throw their food away, the trays do not get stacked neatly. They get thrown all over the place, and then they don't fit into the compost bins. So we have to make sure we stack the trays correctly so they can fit in the compost bin.
Thank you so much. And I have to say, so when the students talk and give the announcements, you can hear a pin drop in the multipurpose room. When the grown-ups get up there, they're listening, but you can hear a lot of like chit-chatting. So we love having the students make the announcements, same announcements that the teachers and I all make together, but when the students make it, everyone listens. All right. So another thing that we do that Sienna, I believe, was the one who talked about, we do celebrations. And so part of our PBIS, our positive behavior supports, is positive office referrals. And kids are sent down from their teachers to the office for something good. And so they get sent down, and then I call them down, and they have this, they meet with me, we take a picture, we hang the picture in the breezeway, and then at Friday Flag, they're recognized in front of everybody. And so these are for character traits, for perseverance, for doing all of the things that make a good, strong student. And so we actually have some office referrals to pass out tonight. You guys want to each take some? Okay. So the first office referral, positive office referral, is for Superintendent Smith for always caring, for gratitude and respect. We have another positive office referral for Trustee Jacobson for perseverance and respect. Trustee Lametta, you are getting a positive office referral for collaboration, caring, and integrity. Trustee Pickus, you are getting an office referral for respect, caring, and integrity. Trustee Millerick, you are getting an award for your perseverance and your long time service to NUSD for caring and curiosity. He's always asking lots of questions. Trustee Gasson, you are getting a positive office referral for your collaboration, owning your actions, and your integrity. Trustee Butler, congratulations for your perseverance, your self-control, and always caring. Trustee Mack, you are getting an award for your perseverance, your curiosity, and your respect. Thank you. Student Board Member Mello, you are getting an award for your courage, being here for your first time tonight, and for friendship. And Student Board Trustee Supermarian, you are getting an award for perseverance, caring, and integrity. Congratulations. Towards the end of our Friday Flag, we also like to celebrate all of our students and their birthdays. So what I would like tonight is if anyone is in this audience, in the board, or a student, and you had a birthday last week during Thanksgiving break, or this week up until Friday, can you please quietly stand up? We have to have a couple. Oh, right behind you. And then our student leaders will pass out the birthday brag tags that every student gets on their birthday. Owen, yeah, Owen had a birthday. Zara, there's a couple of eagles. Okay, and then on the count of 3, we all together say a really kind happy birthday. Can we do that together? Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday. All right. All right, and we close our Every Friday Flag with our Eagles song that Dylan loves. Dylan, will you sing nice and loud for us?
I promise to respect the other children and adults at my school. I will always take care of school property and keep it nice and clean. I will dress right for school. I promise to be safe and responsible. I will think before I act and always do my best. I'm proud to be your Rancho Eagle. Yes, I'm proud to be your Rancho Eagle. Be safe, respectful, and responsible.
Thank you.
So that's our presentation for you tonight. We want to invite you to Rancho any Friday at 8:40. We're always there in the multi-purpose room, even on the rainy days, right? Yeah. Right? We kind of like all like gathered in there. Do you have any questions for any of our students or staff?
I think you guys did a wonderful job. And I'm so impressed you guys have been sitting here for quite a while and so quiet, and you waited for us for the start of the meeting, so thank you guys.
Thank you.
Okay, actually, sorry, Steve, stay here, and then staff, do you want to come in for a picture?
Are you next? There isn't any. Do you want me to open your thing? Why don't you just do it in song?
Say 1, 2, 3, Rancho Elementary.
That's good following the directions.
Oh, good.
That's the point. For the rest of the night. For the rest of the night. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we're going to go on to agenda item 12A. This is the proficiency-based education grading policy update brought to us by Dr. Julie Sinyard.
Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Smith, student representatives. Thank you for having me this evening. That is a tough presentation to follow, and you're right, that song is going to be stuck in my head all evening. Oh my goodness. Well, I am excited to talk to everyone tonight about proficiency-based education and kind of our next steps with our grading policy. So just a quick little overview of the purpose of proficiency-based education. We have been working for the past 6.5 years now, implementing proficiency-based education in our classrooms. And the main tenets of proficiency-based education is really working and focusing on mastery-based learning, which kind of allows our students time to gather information, process their learning, and kind of while they are developing their understanding, have opportunities throughout their learning trajectory to make mistakes, to have opportunities to retake materials. Sometimes time is the variable of learning, and sometimes students need more time to understand what's going on in the classroom, and that's absolutely fine and natural, and kind of one of the big focuses of proficiency-based education. We focused on clear learning targets, really defining what students need to know. We have spent a great deal of time working on proficiency scales, learning targets, and rubrics to help both students and teachers really be clear about what they're supposed to be learning. We have provided differentiated support, and how are we scaffolding the curriculum, the instructional strategies to make sure all of the students in our classrooms are learning and showing and demonstrating growth. And in addition, kind of really focusing on meaningful assessments, where staff can gather input to address where learning gaps may be, having opportunities for both formative and summative feedback to help students grow and attain mastery. Throughout the last 6.5 years, I just want to acknowledge the amount of work and dedication that has gone into kind of transforming our classrooms. Again, folks have done, standing on the shoulders of giants. It's kind of what it feels like here. Really addressing essential standards, taking a leap of faith and saying, yes, this is what we want to do, and just, can't say enough about all the work that's been done. That being said, knowing there's been some challenges in the last 6.5 years as well. And so kind of really addressing the challenges. We've had some inconsistencies with leadership. We've had turnover. We had COVID. There's been a lot of fun stuff that's happened, that has thrown some roadblocks in kind of the whole implementation of proficiency-based education. And to that, and kind of, again, how resilient our staff is, they've really risen to address those challenges and done the best that they absolutely can to adapt things that might not make sense, that they feel are better tools to serve our students, and really kind of just created some tools for themselves to help build understanding while learning proficiency-based education. And so one of the challenges, though, with some of these adaptations is that it has led to some inconsistencies, especially around our grading policy. And for the past couple years now, I feel we have been kind of stuck in this grading discussion about what a proficiency-based scale looks like, what's the appropriate proficiency-based grading scale, and that's been a big challenge for us. And one of the things that we really want to do and focus as we kind of look at our grading policy that will be brought forth, at our next board meeting, is trying to build consistency through our grading policies. And knowing that that's not a quick, easy fix, kind of really reviewing and getting input from staff, but really kind of moving forward about what are the next steps that need to happen. We've been focusing so much on having grading conversations that it's kind of detracting from the work that needs to happen in the classrooms. And so, again, towards the end of last year, in our teacher leadership meetings especially, we really talked about what are the teacher and student shifts that need to happen in the classroom. And that's what we want to start focusing and working on in the next coming years. Again, we really want to clarify the evidence of student learning, having a shared vision of academic behaviors, understanding and implementing best teaching practices, and refining and reviewing our essential standards and proficiency scales. So that's kind of where we're going in the future. here's kind of just a little timeline of where we need to go. And this work is not going to happen overnight. But again, this evening is kind of explaining, kind of why we want a consistent grading policy. Again, bringing forth the policy and kind of adapting to one scale for standards-based grading scale. Kind of for the remainder of this year, really providing time to work with staff to adapt proficiency scales, our standards, and our rubrics. We've heard a lot from staff. Some folks are saying, you know what, we need to refine some of our scales. We're looking at our standards. We think there might need to be more rigor. Definitely hearing that we need more rigor in our standards. Okay, great, let's do that this next coming year. And beginning next school year for 25-26, for the folks that are using a standards-based grading scale, we would implement one standard scale. The challenge has been there's been different scales. So in one classroom, I'm just going to pick out a number, a 3 can mean an A. In another classroom, a 3.25 would be an A. And that's kind of just led to the inconsistencies. That's kind of why we're addressing this evening. And again, this has been a challenge. Like I said, folks have really created syllabus and grading scales that make sense to them. And that's the challenge kind of addressing as we move forward. But as we continue to work and really refine our scales, we will allow staff to still use traditional grading scales until we complete this process. And I'm going to show, this is the scale conversion. We worked with Marzano in the last 6.5 years to really kind of address the scale conversion needs. And this is a scale that's caused confusion. However, this is kind of looking at the expert and the research behind this. This is the scale that we are recommending as we move forward for the next board policy next week. And I'll let folks take a look at that for a second. And I will move on from that. And just as we're kind of going, like I said, just kind of mentioning what our next steps are going to be, really communicate with staff and students and our families to explain why we are going to one scale, just to have consistency. We will work with our administrators and staff to determine professional development needs. We sent out an email yesterday, and we're gathering information from staff, and we received some feedback today, some very useful feedback that we will need to address as we move forward. We're going to provide opportunities for collaboration, review, and refinement, continue to work, again, going through a continuous improvement cycle. If something's not working and we need to address it, that's absolutely what we'll do. And in the 25-26 school year, we will implement a consistent standards-based grading scale while still supporting traditional grading until our transition is complete. Okay. And can I answer any questions at this time?
Okay, I've got student trustee first, then Miller.
I wanted to really comment on this because from the student side, it's really hard for us to balance 5 to 6 to 7 different classes and with all these different grading scales. So I really want to thank you for doing work on this. And I did have a question with the scale that you showed a couple of slides back. If you are adopting that in the next board meeting, it's not changing any grades this semester.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. Thank you for asking me to clarify that. No, we would talk about adapting this for the 25-26 school year. The syllabi are already out. We do not want to bring any more confusion. No, this would be for next year. So no, your grading scale is appropriate, and you have the 6 or 7 that you're dealing with, but those will be the ones that you use. Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Sure.
So I appreciate the discussion of changing points to letter grades, which that's all I see there. The underlying issue of how hard are the questions that lead up to those point scores. I can write a quiz that is every student in the room, most every student in the room could get correct, or I could write one that only 10% could get correct. So there's a huge range of mental rigor and discipline that the teacher implements in the classroom. So this is just one link in the chain that goes from the complexity of the individual problem tied back to the instruction to the points you earn on one question to the points you earn on all 30 questions in the exam, you're only dealing with from that point up to the letter grade. And while that's great to be standardized, I see the really difficult part of where do you figure out what level of skills are you expecting students to master. And we talked about this as a discussion of teach to mastery as opposed to teach to a grade level, a concept which I appreciate, but solving this problem, it skips that other problem, and I would encourage you to go back and look at that other problem as you go forward, because this is really the tip of the iceberg. This is the 10% above the water, the 90% below. And so I can ask a student about something about a database that's they've heard 100 times, or I can ask them something about how do you use artificial intelligence in a database and how do they, and not every student did the background reading or did the research to be able to answer that question correctly. So I think there's lots of work left to do. I would call this a good start.
Yeah, thank you for bringing this forward. I kind of almost see it as a top-down, the way it's coming to the board, because, and I think it's the right thing to do to bring this to sort of set the policy. Typically, this would be studied over a period of time, which it has been, but it's kind of, like you said, it's kind of in flux a little bit. We can't land the plane on this. So to have it come to the board and say, okay, we're going to create this policy, I think this is the right approach for this, because like I said, normally it would come, the recommendation would come to us and a big study would have been done and this is how we're going to do it. I think we tried that and it just didn't quite get there. So I like that you're setting it as a policy. And then I like that my question was really around feedback. So you're gathering that feedback, more of that, and some adjustments will be made. So I think this is the right approach for me. I'm happy with it because we're getting somewhere with this. It's been a long time coming, so thank you.
So thank you. Actually, when I started reading the report, I was actually like thinking about this whole process, and it was actually right when I got on the board. I remember Jim Hogaboom handing me this Marzano book and saying, "This is what we're doing. This is the grading." And I like all of the conversations that we've had about why we would do it. I think I remember when my kids were in elementary school, an element of it was that they actually would be participating when we would meet with the teacher, and they could say which elements or components had they succeeded in and what things they needed to improve on. And I liked that ability for a student to see clearly, and that was more in an elementary school level. I would say that the other thing that really appealed to me, and I think probably to the board, I was new to the board at the time, so didn't have those conversations beforehand, about the fact that there would be consistency, from, you would know and set expectations. And I think that my impression at the time, and again, I'm not an educator and I was new, was that this was something that we were doing and it was going to be what would happen. Over the last week or so, I've had a lot of conversations with community members and teachers, and I think at this point, my concern is, and my awareness at this point is that we can't say what teachers do in terms of their grading. And so I read as part of your presentation that we're going to, that we still have what's the acronym, SBG, but then your step 4 says supporting traditional grading until transition is complete. So I think a fundamental question for me at this point, listening to you speak is helpful, because I was thinking, how do we, I understand that we want to create this model, but if we don't have, if everyone's not doing it, it creates so much confusion for parents. It causes stress, especially at the high school level, because it's just not transitioning really well. And so there's that question. The other is, if we're not able, well, I guess maybe we should have that answer. Can we have, if we put this in place, is it a requirement that all teachers need to use our scale?
So in terms of, you're absolutely right. I cannot tell a teacher how to grade. I can put forth a scale and a policy to say that you are going to set what an A or a 4 looks like in your classroom. And I would not, again, that is where the teacher expertise absolutely comes in. So teachers can say, what, in order to meet this, 100% or this, 4, this needs to happen in my classroom. And I do not dictate that. We do not dictate that. That is absolute teacher discretion. What we would say is we can have a consistent policy, and this is, the grading system we're going to use, so that a 3.25 versus a 3.0, that we're clear on what that letter would translate to. But I would absolutely not say that I could tell a teacher, this is what an A needs to look like in your classroom, something along those lines.
But what I mean more broadly, though, if someone, so I have my daughter's not report cards, but they're grading things right now. So some are doing 3 point whatever, and I understand, and I do at the very least want us to set exactly what an A is and what exactly a B is, because that is where it gets confusing for kids is, again, high school, a completely different ballgame. But if a teacher chooses not to do the scale and still wants to do the traditional 60, 70, 80, whatever for A, B, C, and D, is that going to be still a part of our,
Yes, and so what's going to happen? Again, we have to go look kind of through the input, and where there's still areas of concern, that's what we need to do and address, and either do more training, have more conversations, get a deeper understanding. We would obviously love to have the goal of all staff doing standards-based grading. At this time, though, I don't think we're in that spot. So will you take 25, 26 and kind of go through that as well and see, where there's still areas and gaps that we need to address. And I'll come back and definitely say, here's the progress that we've made. Here's where we're getting, roadblocks. This is what I need to continue to work on. So would absolutely love to have a consistent grading scale throughout the district.
Is there any conversation about having it at least, and I don't know, I don't have kids in elementary school anymore, so I don't know how much it's being implemented at the elementary school level, but again, to me, that's just a little bit easier because it's you either know how to read at certain levels, you either know how to add and subtract, multiply, whatever. As soon as you get into AP is a good example, talking to some teachers, how do you align what, it gets so much more complicated. And so when I look at your timeline too, and I recognize we have been doing this for a while, but there's been so many things that we've had going on as a district, and I don't think it's going to get any easier going forward now that we have all these potential changes with funding and legislation and stuff. I think we're going to be occupied with a lot of stuff as well. So is it implemented at the elementary school sufficiently that it's pretty stable and that we're just now looking at middle and high school, or?
Yeah, I would definitely say that the elementary leaders and staff have kind of jumped in a little bit more full force with the standards-based grading, and we have more work to do at the secondary level for sure.
Okay, all right. Sorry, I think I just had, so my other question goes, so the scales, the proficiency scales or whatever the alignment is on all that, is that something that once set, I know that there's some things that do change, but are we going to be creating a lot of work every year to have to redefine, or is it?
That would be the hope not to. So, but again, looking at the material that we teach and our essential standards and our rubrics and our learning targets, we always want to make sure that they are addressing the student needs. So again, the more data that we collect, if we're saying, some of the concerns, like I said, I've mentioned, staff is concerned about rigor and saying, wait, if we're using this scale, we're not providing enough rigor. Well, that's a conversation with staff and saying, well, what does that rigor look like? And so if we do need to adapt the scale, then absolutely we're going to adapt the scale to make sure that we, are challenging our students to the best of our abilities. So hopefully that won't be, but again, there is a level, these are living documents, kind of the standards as we, determine what proficiency looks like as we get more proficient with the instructional strategies that we, implement in our classroom, and we expect, higher outcomes for kids. So we don't want to continue to do tons and tons of work on this. It would be hopefully tweaks and little refinements here and there, but not bringing full scales back every couple months. That's not what anybody wants to do at all. So no.
I mean, I acknowledge, it's been a lot of work, and I know we've been pushing and everything, because it is in this, it feels like, well, for me, it's been a confusing limbo for a really long time, and trying to explain to, kids that this is a transition period, and your timeline, I appreciate that there is one, because I think that's important. I just feel like hearing you and knowing the workload and stuff, it just seems like a lot still to do, and I'm struggling with it a little bit. You know, I mean, I vacillate between understanding and really wanting to do things that will help support our students and make it clearer and you know, improve their outcomes. But it's still, from the get-go, I had a hard time getting my head around it, you know, the traditional aspect of grading. And now seeing it and living through high school, it's just making it all that more visible that it may not align exactly like where we would want, and it's working better for elementary school. So I'll just leave it at that. If this is what's coming back as a policy, that was one of the things I do think I would like to say, that we have to, if teachers are using these models, that if this is what we're setting, that this needs to be consistent. Because when a 3.1 is an A somewhere and 3.2, doesn't matter if it's in the syllabus, it's just confusing to the kids. And it's confusing to parents. When I pulled up my kids' grades, 2 of the classes, she's got the same thing, but one's a B and one's an A. And while it's really, you know, when you're younger, it's not that big of a deal. But when you're doing transcripts, and yes, we just did all of the college applications, an A is different than a B. So, you know, I'm concerned about that for our students as well, who want to be successful and do their college applications and stuff. So, thank you.
I had another question piggybacking off of Trustee Gasson. For like APs and honors courses, do you see this scale as like leveling the playing field there? Because I know for science APs specifically, they have a huge curve, meaning like in like letters to like percentages, like an 80% or something is an A in one science AP class, and then something almost like a 65% is an A in another. So do you see this scale? Is that going to even the playing field in there? And then what the teachers will have to do is like do their curves, and it would be like you maybe get like, originally you get like a 2.33, but then because of the curve you go up to like the 3, which is kind of what they're doing with right now the letters, but the letters make it more evident that they have more like gap to do that.
Right. So let me try and pick apart your question here. So again, kind of depending on the AP teacher, again, we would like consistency. So especially like if we're looking, I'm going to pick on AP Chem. So we'll pick on AP Chem. And so if I'm looking at my AP Chem and I'm in one class, so I'm at San Marin and I'm using an AP Chem class, and like you said, I have this 2.3 gap is huge. We would like to have a consistent scale so that there's not such a huge gap between what an A and a B would look like, or, you know, whatever. And it's also kind of, and again, because of the AP classes, you have the weighted grades. So, you know, you kind of get that extra bump because you're in the AP class. The more consistency that we can provide, and again, the more we can collaborate and look at kind of our syllabi and say, you know, as staff works together, so it's not like just a San Marin thing or a Marin Oaks thing or a Novato High thing. The more that we can be consistent, I think just the clearer we can get for kiddos. And that's exactly what we'd like to do. So someone can say, hey, I might do some teacher shopping. I know I can get a better grade in that class than I can do somewhere else. And so that's what we absolutely want to avoid. And so just kind of bringing that and having those conversations and saying, let's talk about that. What does that look like? Why is an A so much different in this class? And, you know, are we requiring more from kiddos, or are we not requiring enough? Those are kind of the hard conversations that we have to have.
Thank you. And then I'm assuming that now, I'm thinking about like the seniors that we all just did our transcripts. There's no way we can address like district-wide any of these changes, because if it was consistent, like the transcripts would be amazing for a lot of kids. And like talking about now, I know that I've talked about grades with a lot of my friends right now. So this consistency would be amazing to see in our schools. So, but there's no, we can't address it this school year, correct?
No, I can't change that. But again, moving forward, we just don't want to, again, the purpose of this is we don't want to cause confusion for our kiddos. And so again, the whole goal of this is to be very transparent and clear. These are the expectations. This is what it takes to, you know, this is what an A level work, 4.0 level work, you know, looks like in the grading scale, the SBG scale. So when we're clear with that and we can set our expectations, all kids, all families, all staff know, oh, okay, we got it. This is what A/4 work looks like. And that's what we have to do. So we're not all confused. And it's
awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
sorry, one more question. Is Marzano helping you through this process?
Yes. So we met with Marzano with a consultant last year, and then we're going to continue to work with Marzano coming up.
That's what I want to know.
Yes.
Just flush out some of the inconsistencies and the work that they do in so many other districts. Okay. And then student voice, obviously outside of this board room, making sure student voice is part of that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Just a theoretical question. Just make sure I understand this correctly. I think I do, but I want to make sure. Controlling for variances amongst the teachers and teaching different things, different ways, et cetera. But let's say we could achieve, they're all the same.
Sure.
Totally theoretical.
Love it.
In that environment, is there ever a curve? Standards-based tells me there's no curve, that you teach to standards, and if you either achieve them or you don't, and you don't bend the curve because they didn't achieve standards.
I think some of this isn't theoretical. So some of the grading in the past, and I want to, absolutely commendations to staff previously. There, again, grading has been subjective. We've known that. And the more we try to make it objective, that's kind of the goal.
Right.
I think the work that was done, especially around the 6 C's and soft skills a little bit in terms of, absolutely valuable skills that you need to have as you're moving forward and in the workplace. Kind of really pulling those out and saying, what are like non-academic factors that go into whether or not I know how to do X, Y, and Z, but there's some other skills that we want. And I think really separating those factors have helped with say, okay, yeah, I either know how to do this or I don't. And I'm not, I'm not going to say because I showed up to class prepared for everything and, I did all my homework and which is important too, but as a complete compliance issue, I might be that kid who I don't need to do homework. I already got it. Like, it just makes sense to me. So if we're saying that this is what mastery looks like, if I've met that factor, there shouldn't be any curve. I either did this or I didn't. And then the other area that you can give feedback on are the kind of areas of the 6 C's. So do I demonstrate strong character? Am I collaborating with others? Am I culturally responsive? Things to that extent. So I think that's really helped with the standards-based grading. That was a portion of that as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm just sort of talking out loud to clarify what's happening in my head. There's so many parts that go into a grading policy. And sort of to your point, so what we're just talking about are the numbers that are assigned to the letter grades. Behind that, we should have a scale that says this is what 4 looks like, this is what a 3 looks like, this is what a 2 looks like, and 1 looks like. And right now, teachers have their own scales when in their class are saying this is what an A looks like for me. So one of the goals of aligning this, to your point, is that it means that the breakdown between different grades is the same in all classes, right? So the disparity between a 4, an A level, and a C level might be different in one class versus another class. So when all those grades average out, that average is different in different classrooms, even if you're receiving some of the same kinds of grades. Okay, so I'm just clarifying that in my head, working through all those pieces. It seems like there's a lot of other parts to this conversation as well, but this does seem like a starting place. And I appreciate the attention to gathering more feedback, and I'd be interested to kind of, as you gather that, sharing that with us so that we have a sense of what teachers and students are saying is helpful or problematic, so that we can support the work you're doing. Thank you.
So, exactly, sorry. Okay. Same as Trustee Pickus. I think one of the things that Trustee Mack flushed out for me, which was another element that we've had a challenge over, which I would imagine you've heard, is that meeting standards is 3, and to get to 4, you have to do work that's above and beyond. And so I think that for me is something I struggle with, and as you're developing this, it's coming across that B is what's expected, and 4 is something extra, and the inconsistency across what that means. So if that's extra work or we're not defining it. So as we're doing that, I just would really focus on what does it exactly mean to be a 4. I know that there's the scale and stuff, but the way it's been presented, I should take a step back. I loved when I went to back to school night the teachers were really clear on their grading. And so I think that for me is enough. I do like the consistency aspect, but I understood what their expectations were, and so that was all done really well. The thing that my kids would struggle with and other kids is, okay, I've done my work, I've done X, Y, and Z, but I can't get that A, and I don't know what it is that's going to take it to that level. And so I think
that's the work that we don't, like, how do I pick that out of a teacher's head? How do I know what's expected of me? Or if I think that this is what A work is and I'm missing that, I need more clarification. Yeah. How do I make that jump? And so again, is it a 4, an A, whichever standard we're talking about? What is that? What are the next steps to get there? And we have to be clear with our students regarding what that looks like.
Thank you.
Sure.
So I think the discussion of what A work looks like is really valuable. Mr. Willoughby used to teach in this school district, and he would get all of his students to finish the term a month early, which was before the national tests, so they all do really well on the national tests. And the reward was they could watch movies for the last 3 weeks of the class. And his kids did extraordinarily well. He motivated students in ways that have nothing to do with A's or numbers. It have to do with learning the content, because then they would do well in college. My dilemma with this is a table. We've talked about a lot of other things, but this is a table of how to convert a letter grade to a number, or how to convert a number to a letter grade. And so we're sitting here proposing, the conversation proposes that the teacher's grade book actually computes some kind of number, 3.75 or 4.0, and then you apply this rule, which is published by the district, and you get an A+ in that case. What we don't see here is what UC Berkeley does on the other end, because all we send them is the letter grade. All you put on your transcript is a letter grade. That's all they see. So we used one set of rules. The question is, what rules did they use to turn the letter grade back to a number? Because they're going to tell you you're not eligible for the program unless you get a 3.0. They say a number. So we're looking at half the equation. We're looking at the number to the letter grade. It's the university that turns the letter grade back to a number. So the letter grade actually is an imaginary thing. It doesn't have any value at all other than to talk to universities. The real hard discussion is, how do you get to the number? What does the teacher do in their grade book that says, we're going to do a quiz at each week, and here's what you need to get 100% points, and here's what you need to get 90. How hard are the questions? And what do they then demand of the students? Do they give them a chance to do makeup and solve their questions? There's a lot of instruction that's hidden below the surface of this. This is an interesting topic to start the conversation, but my point earlier is this just scratches the surface.
And this, we've been stuck on this for the last few years. And so what we really want to talk about is, okay, we're putting this in place.
Last few decades.
Yeah, sure. And we're putting this in place so that we can get to these conversations and that we can start looking at our instructional practices in the classroom. And are we serving all kids? All the good, fun, meaty stuff that we need to.
If I hire a programmer, I'll tell you by the end of about day 3 that I'm going to walk that person back out of the office, or trust them with some additional work, because what I'll have them do to start with is duplicative of what somebody else is doing, so I can measure it in a real life setting. And yes, it matters if somebody stays late to solve a problem, as opposed to go home and say, well, I'll pick it up tomorrow. If I choose to keep them employed or not, it matters.
Okay, I'm gonna make a comment, and then we have 2 community member comments. I feel like this is like the mid-season trailer of PBE for us. We've done a lot of work and we've made a lot of strides, and I think that part of what worked at elementary was they were able to articulate from grade to grade, and then within each grade they broke it down into the different standards, and then they broke it down into what does each of those mean and how do you meet them. That work has been done in some ways in secondary and sometimes not. And so our work now as a district is to make sure that that work is happening moving forward. This is something else, if you will. It's here's something that we're using as a conversation tool, as a way to explain all of this, to talk about it. It is not those teacher-driven items. So I'm very excited that that work is going to be happening next. And we now have 2 community members. Tess Shainthal, thank you so much for giving me the way to pronounce that. I appreciate you. I also appreciate the work that you're doing currently. And then we have Paolo after. Go ahead, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening, school board members. My name is Tess Shainthal, and I'm a math teacher at Novato High School. Thank you, Julie, for the thorough conversation, all the work you're doing with PBE. As sort of, I guess, a phony, fake representative of our math department, the majority of our math teachers don't like the idea of going to a PBE grading scale. We love the PBE instructional practices. We love the reassessment. Giving them multiple opportunities to check their work, to change their understanding, especially in mathematics. That's super important part of the learning process. It's getting things wrong and then making them right. We're just really skeptical about going to the 4-point grading scale, in part because it's really hard to make grading scales. As you said, there's an easy articulation at the elementary school. At the high school level, that's much more challenging when we get into very complex topics like AP Calculus and Pre-Calculus and Algebra 2, and even geometry is really like kind of all over the place with their standards. Also, we have a lot more standards to cover than the middle school Course 1, Course 2, Course 3. If you look at our Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2 standards online, there's like 4 extra pages of standards past the Course 1, 2, and 3. So we just have tons of material to cover, and that's one of the reasons why we're really skeptical about a 4-point grading and grading math in general from scales. My next concern was about standardizing a scale across the district. I'm just wondering like what research we've done on its current efficacy after pursuing it for 6 years. Like if we look at the past 6 years, has it improved our graduation rates or our test scores or college admission or college retention rates? Have we systematically gone through each department and grade level and determined if the 4-point scale is an appropriate model for our classrooms? Have we spoken to students and teachers about their perspectives? Have we rigorously investigated the data with an equity lens, seeing which students PBE has benefited and which ones may have fallen through the cracks? How are we ensuring the effectiveness of the 4-point scale? I would love for us to gain insight into all of these questions before we consider standardizing a scale. My second concern is that it unnecessarily obfuscates a student's academic achievement to parents' families. The traditional grading model is really readily understood by everybody, right? 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Why are you trying to change something that's already pretty effective at communicating a student's level of understanding? I've been issuing multiple placement tests, diagnostic placement tests at the high school level, and a lot of parents are really confused why their kids' diagnostic scores, which are from the UCs, are so low compared to their grades. So have we looked at that correlation to see if our grades are actually measuring academic and student achievement? And then one of the things that we've kind of been talking about is, I feel like this kind of puts the cart before the horse. Like, why don't we investigate our instructional strategies? Why don't we investigate how we're teaching in the classroom? And then that will solve the grading problem. If we're teaching our kids, they'll get the grades that they want, right? So I think we need to investigate more into teaching practices and instructional practices before we talk about changing grading. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Paulo Miguel, first-time caller, so bear with me here. You stole my thunder, quite frankly. If you want to put back that grading scheme, those bands, to me, I see 90, I see 80. So we've just created confusion unnecessarily, quite frankly. And what we're describing as transition or a lack of clarity at a point in time is impacting our seniors as they have one shot, 1 year to get it right. So if we don't have our stuff right, it's impacting an entire swath of students, and it's making it very difficult for them. I'm all over the place now I'm fired up. I want to thank you for your comment. Are we seeing an improvement as a result of having put in this new grading scale? Are the test scores higher? Right? I don't know that we are. So I would implore you, if this is the direction we're going, do it quickly. To be in transition forever is unacceptable. This level of clarity should have been part of what was rolled out originally. I can tell you with absolute certainty, just a few weeks ago, my daughter, a freshman at San Marin, we received the Sunday update. She had the same number grade for 2 classes, 2 different letters. Unacceptable. I had a bunch more to say, but I think I'll leave it there. I do want to echo the comment made here by the board member about this is all on the surface. We need to address what's underneath, get that clear, because simply introducing new numbers only brought confusion. It didn't actually move the ball forward at all. In fact, it set us back. I would like to cede time to the lovely lady in the front row. No, thank you. Appreciate everyone.
Thank you. I just also want to share that Marzano is the company or the expert that we have worked with for the past 6 years. This is their scale. This is part of what they brought to us as we learned their information. We didn't just pull this out of thin air. I'm sorry, but it can't be a back and forth. I'm just addressing your comments. Trustee Gaston, do you have another thing to share?
A question. I mean, I've talked to a lot of parents and teachers, and I'm just wondering, I know it's not a discussion action kind of thing here, but I'm just wondering if, in light of everything, if tackling pieces is a little bit better, like if we have a really strong program going at the elementary level, if we focus on that. I think we can't really go back in terms of, some teachers, I mean, again, I pulled up my kids' report cards. Some teachers are doing the traditional grading method. Some, I have a 3.1, whatever. So I don't know how, I mean, that is where it is right now. But I'm wondering if we come out strong with that model in elementary where we're being successful right now and say, okay, we've got that, we've got this accomplished, and then tackle middle school and then high school. I don't want to make it go longer, but I hear a lot of concerns about how we're going to match up the metric. These terms, I'm just not, they don't flow off of my tongue. But anyway, I see just a lot of more complications, and it's hard for me to say because I know there's a lot of work that's gone into this, but if that was a consideration, that since we're doing so well at the elementary level, you don't need to respond, but I've just gotten so much feedback from teachers that it's just a real challenge at the high school level in particular, so.
You can just see me thinking. I have so many questions for you and want to talk to you so much about this. Sorry, and you too. That was very interesting. But to your point, I think allowing teachers to still choose between the 100-point scale and the standards-based grading scale, I think is really important until there's enough conversation as a staff where we feel like that's the right direction to move. I do feel like there's a lot of research behind this 4-ish scale where the 0 percent is not 0 to 60, right? Where your grade is unnaturally or unequitably dropped if you are missing a score. So I love that you brought equity into the conversation, and this scale does move us in that direction. I think the one thing that aligning the scale does is if what you said about averaging out the letter grades, I think this equalizes it. It does not make sure that what I think is an A is different than is the same as what you think as an A, and that's happening in every classroom. That's a little bit different. So it doesn't address those pieces. So that's the next step is, are we all aligned in what those standards-based or what the progressions are? But this does seem to address that, and that seems to be an issue that's coming from the community, is a lack of what does this number mean and what letter grade does it correspond to. I feel like as a teacher, if you want to give a student a certain grade, you just assign the number as opposed to what letter do you get based on it depends on which way it goes. But I appreciate your insight, so thank you for sharing. So we'll come back in a couple weeks.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, our next item is 13A, approval of resolution number 6, 2024-25, formalizing Education Workforce Housing Facilities Advisory Committee, brought to us by Derek Nell.
After that heated grading conversation.
second to open up our files here. Okay, good evening, trustees, superintendent. It's nice to be back. I'm happy to say that I'm glad to follow such a simple subject as land use after a discussion on grading. I feel your pain. So tonight we're basically going to be talking about the formation of a facilities advisory committee, sometimes known as a 7-11 committee because it has a minimum of 7 members and a maximum of 11. Just to bring us up to date, we are in the staging plan of the third stage of a 6-stage process towards the development of education workforce housing. We're following the CSBA standards for this. And if you'll recall my last report to the board, in the staging plan, it's got basically 4 different points. First being working with our associated and neighboring organizations, the establishment of a facility advisory committee, which is what we're going to be talking about tonight. In addition to that, we're continue to be working on the development of our project teams, which involve consultants in specific areas, followed up with always an ongoing communication plan. So tonight, the formation of a facilities advisory committee is basically divided into 3 steps, and we're sort of following the wording up there that the committee's purpose is to provide a recommendation to the board based on community input regarding the use or disposition of school building spaces or properties deemed unnecessary for school purposes as outlined in the education code. So the first step is we have to form a committee. So staff worked on recruiting and selection of the committee to recommend to the board. We have to schedule the meeting dates, and we have to design a designated process that we're going to follow when we have these conduct these meetings with our selected members. And then finally, we're going to ask you to pass a resolution tonight, which will be to form this facilities advisory committee. So the first step, which is the community outreach process, to ensure that we have a broad representation and we're in compliance with the legal requirements. District staff conducted a campaign to recruit stakeholders and individuals from a representative sample of our community. And there's sort of a bullet point list of how we went about that. And the Meridian Independent Journal actually wrote an article as a result of our press release. Once we went through the process, we'll next have to go through the committee meetings and the responsibilities of the meetings themselves. So we've gone ahead and scheduled 3 meetings on the dates that you see up there, and a tentative 4th meeting if it's still required. So we will convene this committee on the scheduled dates, and we were going to follow those education codes. But basically, the idea is that we'll gather community input through public hearings, which will be conducted during these meetings. And at the same time, the committee will receive from the district staff and legal presentations on the process. We'll give them information on the budget, enrollment demographics, community demographics, the facilities we have, and finally ask this committee to make a recommendation to the board as to the disposition of the properties, which the committee decides to declare or not declare as surplus properties. And again, just to let you know that on the resolution itself, that's where you're going to see the names of the individuals that were selected to serve on the committee. In addition, I provided the board with a spreadsheet on the names and the area that they come from and the classification that they follow. For example, we have to have an administrator, we have to have a certificated employee, we have to have a classified employee, and then the regulations ask that we have residents that have expertise in the area as well. So based on our recruiting, we had a total of 24 applicants. We worked that down to 11 members plus 3 alternates, and we are ready to proceed at our first meeting, assuming that the board is okay with the membership selection and the resolution itself. So tonight, Jim Traber from F3 Communications is here to help answer your questions if you have any, and we're happy to go over that.
Trustee Miller?
Just for clarification to the board, my name is on this list. I will be off the board by the time this begins. So I didn't see a conflict of interest, so I intend to vote on this tonight, unless somebody has some reason they think I shouldn't. But my service to this community is just not done, that's all. Thank you.
Trustee Butler?
Just a I mean, not really I guess a comment. On the second whereas, you have picked out 2 properties already. So maybe could you just, is that, you say district staff has, so we had 5 properties presented. Was it 5? I think it was.
That's correct. So based on advice from council, it was important that we list the properties that we felt we would, we'll bring to the committee to go over. And based on those 2 properties, currently they have, well, let's describe them as vacant lots and or have temporary facilities on them, whereas the others have encumbrance, federal encumbrances in the case of Hamilton, and in the case of the other properties, there is some light program use, et cetera. So it's there, the possibility, we do intend to show the feasibility report and all these properties to the committee, and we're going to ask them to be as objective as possible in their studying. But for this stage and where we're at right now, staff is recommending that we basically just bring these 2 properties forward, and it's not to say that we won't bring the others forward later. They just have different issues that will have to be addressed at that time.
Okay. Yeah, and I think you did say something, I think, in a previous report that the executive committee would be reviewing the properties and making, so I just wanted you to publicly state that.
Yeah, that's correct. So. The executive team made up of the chief business officer, superintendent, legal counsel, and public relations, myself. We have reviewed all of these processes, the applications for the membership, and then the wording for the resolution as well. So what we're bringing forward is what we think we should do.
Thank you.
Trustee Gasson?
Just a comment, and then I think this group of people that you were able to pull together is excellent. This is just a wonderful, widespread group, and so I'm really excited, and I'm willing to make a motion to move forward on this action. Is it a roll call?
It is. That was a first by Trustee Gasson and a second by Trustee Mack. We have a roll call vote without any other comment. Trustee Butler?
Aye.
Trustee Gasson?
Aye.
Trustee Jacobson, aye. Trustee Lametta?
Aye.
Trustee Mack?
Aye.
Trustee Millerick?
Aye.
Trustee Pickus?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, our next item will be 15D, which was moved from consent. This is the annual accounting developer fees for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024, and 5-year report for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024. Trustee Gasson, would you like to speak to this?
Yeah, since Josh is not here, I'm just going to make a couple of comments as it relates to SB 937, which was brought to our attention through JLAC, and the discussion about the impact of that bill is that the fees that would normally be brought to the district are normally due at the time of permitting, and has changed to being due at the time of occupancy. So that would create a drag on the timeline when we would be receiving those funds. And I know that they're not significant, but some of the discussion that we've had, and this kind of goes to advocacy, and we're going to talk about another item later tonight, just about where we stand in terms of this. So one of the things that JLAC discussion was around was having a conversation with CBOs through Marin County and finding out how this change impacts each of the districts. And so I would like to, if Josh is available, to get back to them on that in terms of specifics. Again, it's not a lot of money, but we are using that money currently for our workforce housing and for other things. And if this, I guess they're still fleshing out some details because it's a little more complex than they originally thought. But if it goes the way that it is now, we're going to have like a gap where we're not going to receive any funding for a little bit. So just with that in mind, I wanted to bring it out for a little bit of discussion. And I think that was it. So this is something that I'm going to probably keep in the forefront of discussions when we're meeting at JLAC, and welcome any other input that you all may have.
Great, thank you. Unless there's further discussion, do we have a motion to approve this item?
I can make a motion.
Trustee Gasson, thank you. Second. Trustee Pickus, thank you. All in favor? 7 plus 1 student trustee, thank you very much. Okay. Our next item is brought to us by Dr. Smith. This is the state and federal compliance reports and activities.
All right. So I am bringing this item to all of you mostly to make it as public information and awareness. This report came out from CSBA, which is the California School Boards Association. And they are also an advocacy group. And this is not... I want to just preface this with, this is not we have a lot of work to do, we feel sorry for ourselves, stop giving us so much work to do. Okay, that's not the point of bringing this up. But what has happened is the number of reports, and they're listed in here, the number of reports that are required from district office staff, business departments, special ed services, superintendent office, communications, the layers. I mean, some of them come to you. You see the LCAP, you see the site plans, you see the SARCs, you see some of those have always kind of been around. But with all of the legislation that has come through over the last 6 years, some due to the pandemic and some others due to new governor and new legislators in office, they have all these programs that they want to fund. They're often one-time funds, and they all are requiring some kind of report. Sometimes the reports don't come to you as board members. But for example, recently we just approved the home and school transportation plan. A plan even, right? We brought to you, we just had to approve the expenditure report for Prop 28. Those plans didn't exist 2 years ago, right? We have spent 2 staff members, Susie Hirschfield and Tanya Pearson, have spent the last 3 months working on federal compliance review. That's all they do. They're online, they're being told what to do, they're providing documentation to the federal government. And we understand, right? We receive funds, we have to prove we're using it correctly, right? We understand that there's a level of compliance and accountability. But the superintendents and the districts in the state are voicing pretty loudly, similar to maybe this on the developer's fee, that we would like the plans to be condensed. Let's avoid redundancies, figure out a different way for us to report data so that we can spend more time being at school sites, being instructional leaders, leading the work that actually impacts student learning. None of these reports that we do have direct impact on students every day. And we call them unfunded mandates, right? So we're being asked to do reports and provide accurate information, which we're happy to do, but there is no extra person or extra people or resources given to do that work. So once again, it feels like it might be a little whiny, but it was really just saying, as trustees, I want you to be aware of the burden that we are feeling and the advocacy that's now happening. So by March 1st of 2025, that's like in a couple months, The legislation, they actually listened to the advocacy, and they're supposed to, the California Department of Education is supposed to report back on a recommendation to reduce the amount of workload by 30%. So whenever you get a chance to, advocate or say this is a great idea, yes, we would like less work for, we want our people to spend more time concentrating on students. That would be greatly appreciated. This similar conversation and advocacy is happening throughout Marin County.
I think one of the things that struck me about this, and I think I like that we're doing this collaboratively, and I know that I sent out to all of you the JLAC, they pick 3 things that they're going to be advocating for the county, but I think, for us, we're always a little bit different than the rest of Marin County, and every, county in the state is a little different for other reasons, and so I'm going to be trying to keep an eye out for those things that have the greatest impact on us, and how do we kind of keep it in the forefront of, like the developer fees. It may not be as impactful for some of the other sites, districts, I don't know, but for us, it's going to make a difference. And so keeping an eye on those things, and what are the things that are important to you all as a trustee for NUSD.
I'm just going to add that Marin County has a really strong legislative action committee within our school board. Former trustee Nell was very influential in that work, and I appreciate that. Trustee Gasson and Trustee Butler always attend our JLAC meetings, and our district specifically is very well represented in those groups. And we are one of the larger districts, so that makes sense, but I just want to say thank you to all of you for putting the time and the energy into that, because we could just sit here and not do that type of work, but all of us feel obligated to do those extra things that can help students in other ways. And we're also going to all be asked for what our priorities are in this sphere around legislative action, and so please bring us those topics so that we can all be on the same page together. Okay. Thank you. Okay. And our last item for the evening is discussion of board member officers for next term. We have been presented with the role of president and clerk information, and I'd like to hear from you all around anyone's interest, availability, thoughts, etc.
I'll just get started because I've got the easy one to talk about. So as everybody knows, I travel a heck of a lot, and as that happens, it kind of precludes my ability to do a role I'd like to do, to be honest. But I just can't commit to being here week in, week out, which is what the 2 senior roles on the board require. So as a result, I'm just going to stick with being a plain Jane trustee as I have been.
I sort of echo those sentiments for myself. I have really appreciated the leadership that you 2 have taken, and don't know if you are interested in continuing in where you're at, but I felt like there is a nice I don't know, the flow of information has been really great in the past year, and just watching this dynamic it seems like it's making our board work really well. I also have an interest in perhaps having a larger role in the future, but it's challenging right now with all the small children running around my feet. If you 2 were interested in continuing, I would support that. Don't know if other people are interested. Not you. You're not interested. If anybody else is interested, certainly that's, we could have that conversation as well. But if you're interested, I would support that.
Yeah, I would tack onto that too. If you 2 are interested in continuing on in your current role, that would be really good for me. I mean, for this one trustee. I think these positions have evolved so much, and I've said this before, since I've started on the board till now. The responsibility has heightened quite a bit. I think it's changed. It's just you're so much more involved than just making sure everything is neat and tidy at this board meeting. At the board, there's so much more, and that has grown. So we typically don't do a 2-year back-to-back, but if it's necessary, I'm all for that. I don't know if it's necessary, but I think it would be help with the transition of a new trustee coming on board, just with all the housing stuff that we're doing. The voice of the board leadership is important, and just having that continuity with both of you. I would like to, Magali, how do you feel? I mean, that sort of puts you in a position of staying, in vice president for 2 years, and you both teaming together have done it's a great match. So I appreciate it very much in the ease that you're making it look a little easy.
I started working again, but I'm still doing all the stuff that I used to do, so I'm good right here. I'm trying to. No, seriously, I finally got one driving, and that is so much better. But for whatever reason, I'm still doing all the stuff I was doing and a job, and so I'm like just balancing that out right now and having some free time. It doesn't really exist, but hopefully will.
Madam President, you've done such a really great job, and I think that I echo everyone's sentiments. There's a lot of changes that are happening on our board with Trustee Millerick rolling off and getting a new trustee. I really have enjoyed being vice president, and would love to continue to be in my role. Just for the growth and learning, from you more. I think it's been a really great collaboration, partnership, and relationship.
Yeah, I would agree with that very much. I think that we work really well together, and I'm excited for when you're the president, so I look forward to that. But I am definitely willing to serve another year if that's where we land when we vote next meeting. Okay, thank you so much. That's the end of our agenda. We will be closing the board meeting tonight in honor of longtime Olive Elementary principal Richard Melende, who passed away recently at the age of 91. He was with NUSD for 37 years, so we will close in his memory.